Okay guys, I know some of you were gone when we had class the other day for the career fair, so this is just a review of what we did. If you were here, you don't really have to watch this because you'll have the notes, but this is a review of what we did. We talked about an isosceles right triangle, and basically that it has special rules. So if these two were congruent, and this is a right angle, this is what we call an isosceles right angle. And when we have that, that means this angle is 45, and this angle is 45. So a lot of times people, instead of calling it a right isosceles triangle, they call it a 45, 45, 90 because of the angles. These mean the same thing. And here's what we learned in class. It's going to be kind of the short version of it. These two sides are the same no matter what. So let's say this side is 8, then this side is 8. Then this side is always 8 square root of 2. Or if I cross this off, let's say the side was 11. Then this side would be 11, and this side would be 11 square root of 2. That's how easy it is. And you know, your triangle could be drawn different directions also. I mean, you could have this, and if they say these are right angles, and I tell you this side is 6, then you'd say, well, this side is 6, this side is 6 square root of 2, and I know that because it's a right isosceles, or a 45, 45, 90. So if you know these two are the same, congruent, and it's a right isosceles, then these are 45. So that's why we call it a 45, 45, 90 triangle. And the rule goes, if you look at just the rule, let me draw a new one. If I look at just the rule, a lot of times in textbooks you're going to see it written like this. They'll say like this side is n, so some number, and this side and this side are congruent. These two legs are congruent. The legs are congruent, so it's n, and then n square root of 2. Now, the only time that gets weird is the algebra. So let me draw you a new one. And I'm going to make these two congruent. Let's say this time you know that the hypotenuse is 10. Because usually we're finding the hypotenuse, it's the one that has the root 2 with it. So this one's a little bit weird. This time the hypotenuse is 10. So now you have to do algebra. So in order to get this one, I have to say, well, normally this equals, I'm going to go back up to my pattern, it was n root 2. So that means this equals n square root of 2, according to my pattern right here. So in order to get n, I have to divide by the square root of 2. So I'm going to take 10 divided by the square root of 2. And then you learned in Algebra 1 last year, you can't leave that there. So it's really easy to get rid of. You multiply by the square root of 2 in the top and the bottom of the fraction, so the numerator and the denominator. And I get 10 square root of 2 over, when you take square root of 2 times square root of 2, you get just 2. It's just a rule in algebra. And then you have to think if you can simplify. This one I can simplify. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, so I get 5 square root of 2. That's the answer for this side, which means this side is going to be 5 square root of 2. Okay? So if I look at a different one, we'll do that one again, and I'll show you one more like that. If this side is 6, actually no, don't make it 6. Let's make it 5, so it's odd. So it looks a little bit different. So this side is 5. This is the hypotenuse. It's supposed to go n square root of 2. So that means I have to divide by the square root of 2. Anytime they give you the hypotenuse, you have to divide by the square root of 2.
What is today?
So I have to divide by the square root of 2 to get n by itself. So I have 5 over the square root of 2. So I have to multiply by the square root of 2 on the numerator and the denominator again because I can't have this square root in the bottom. So on the bottom it just becomes 2, and in the top, the numerator, I get 5 square root of 2. Now this one's different, and it's an odd number, so 5 does not simplify with 2. So you just leave it like that. You just write it as 5 square root of 2 over 2. And if this side is 5 square root of 2 over 2, that means this side is 5 square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so one other thing we talked about in class is if you have a square, that's where these come from, is a square. So because the square has all 4 congruent sides, if you draw the diagonal in, this one, you get 2 45, 45, 90 triangles, 2 of these special triangles. All right, so that's where it came from. Let's look and see what we have here. These two are just like what I showed you, because they give you the hypotenuse. If you're given the hypotenuse, that's when you have to divide by the square root of 2. So if you're given the hypotenuse, so if I draw this triangle out, these two are here, and I know this is 9. If I know the hypotenuse, that's when I have to say that equals n square root of 2, which means I have to divide by the square root of 2. So I would have 9 equals n square root of 2, and if I divide by the square root of 2, these cancel. And you learned last year in algebra that you can't leave that, so you multiply by the square root of 2. And in the denominator you get 2, in the numerator you get 9 square root of 2. And you cannot, so that answer is 9 square root of 2 over 2. And those are the tough ones, okay? But if you look at any of these, I'm not going to go through all of them, but this is kind of the stuff that is on Canvas for you to complete. All right. If you have questions, come see me before or after school, and then we will review this stuff when we have class again on Monday. Have a great day.